What's up, guys? This is the Film Physician, back with a brand new video with a brand new mic. Yep, that's right, we can finally ditch the old headset microphone and now have an actual microphone that has a filter and everything. So I'm glad to bring you much better quality audio in our videos. Please remember to drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. But anyways, let's get straight into this. Halloween Horror Nights 2019 was one of the first years I actually decided to go to Halloween Horror Nights and really get into it. I mean, I'd went in previous years like Halloween Horror Nights 2017, but I really didn't go there for the houses or the scare zones. That year I actually went because my brother was going, and me and my mom just went and rode all the rides and watched the Bill and Ted show before it was tragically replaced. We'll never forget you, Bill and Ted show. You were amazing. Truth be told, I really wanted to go in 2018 because it had an amazing lineup. It had Halloween, which is one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. It had Stranger Things, which is one of my favorite shows. And it also had Poltergeist, a movie I really like. And I was going to go that year. But sadly, because none of my friends would go with me, I didn't end up getting to go. And I am very sad that I didn't go. Needless to say, when 2019 came around, I was going to make sure, no matter what, that I was going to get to go. And this year, or I guess you should say last year, it did happen. I went to Halloween Horror Nights 29, and it was, in short, amazing. Me and my friend went there that year, and we had such a great time. We got to do all the houses. We actually ended up doing Us twice because the first time we went through Us, we had one of those like run-throughs where you get none of the scares and it's kind of a watered-down experience because you kind of saw everything coming. But then the second time when we did it, it was much better. And it ended up getting way higher on the list because of that second running. But I know what you're probably saying. Before we go into this list, there was no bias in Us's favor going into this video because we did it twice. We did every house once, and we made sure that every house we went into, we at least got one good run-through. A run-through where we didn't get stiffed on every scare, and we made sure that every run-through was a quality run-through. And I was really happy with the experience. As me and my friend went through house to house, we kept on talking so much about each house, and we ended up making a top 10 list after we got done, because remember, we did every house at least once. And today's video is going to be on that top 10 list. Now, let me remind you also that on these houses, I did each one of them at least once in person, so did my friend, and I also watched multiple POV shots of it, or videos of it, after and before, well, not before, but after I had went to Halloween Horror Nights. So I've gotten a great sense of every house. I know what it's like to go through each one, and this is my top 10 rating them. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get straight into this. Coming in at number 10 is really the only house I regret doing. Like 1 through 9 are all houses that like I would do a million times over, and they were all great houses, and really it was for me and my friend from like spots 9 to 6, it was really difficult trying to pick, to rate those and rate one higher than the other. It took a lot of consideration. Same thing with numbers 1 through 4. Alright, but number 10 was the only house that we regretted going in. And I will say I was a tad bit jaded before I went into the house, but I think regardless, even if I wasn't jaded before going in, I still would have hated it. And that is A House of 1,000 Corpses. What a disappointing house. I mean, the only good things that I remembered from this house, or really liked about this house, was the fact that they had the guy at the front was kind of funny looking, and they also had a really nice facade. Other than that, the house is extremely short, and it's not scary at all. There's no great jump scares, and the set pieces are just not that good. The house didn't function really that well, and I heard many people having trouble with that. And when I went, I didn't have that problem. Everything seemed to be functioning well. It's just that, even regardless of that, the house just wasn't scary, it wasn't funny, it wasn't really a good experience, and I would not do that house twice. Now, this pick is going to be extremely controversial because a lot of people that I asked said that House of a Thousand Corpses was one of their favorite houses. And, that's fine. And I'm glad the house that you enjoyed it and that it gave you pleasure. And I gotta be honest, I did not see the movie. This was one of the ones I did not see the movie for before going into the house. But even afterwards, when I watched the movie and then watched the POV shots, I still just said, like, what were you thinking of this house, man? I mean, okay, first off, House of a Thousand Corpses is not a good movie, okay? It's a bad movie, okay? So you have a bad movie, bad execution of the house, just ends up being a not good house, and it was the only house I regretted going in. But from here, things are going to get much more positive, as I'm going to have a lot more positives to say with the top 9 maps, and very few negatives. Coming in at number 9 is Depths of Fear. I really liked this house, okay? I thought it was kind of a safe house that didn't really take too much risk, but I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, I loved how it had kind of like a sterile, kind of clean sort of feel to it when you're going through the submarine station. I loved the facade. I thought it was a great way to introduce you to the house, as like you're going into this big, pressurized, container and everything. You had the TV screens on the left. You had these big, scary anglerfish monsters that were really cool. You had these people that you could see. They were like midway through transformation into the angler monsters, which was also really cool. I mean, you just had a lot of good in this house. I got a really cool, like, alien or aliens sort of vibe from this house. Especially when you have the girl, like, jump out at you and she has the harpoon gun. She says, "Oh, I'll cover you." I thought that was really cool. It reminded me of Ellen Ripley from the Alien franchise. And I had a really nice feel with this house. I really liked it. But you're probably wondering, then why does it only rank at number 9? Well, it had a couple flaws. The first and biggest one being is that you get scared by the same two things over and over and over again, okay? You get scared by anglerfish monsters, people turning into anglerfish monsters, and that's it. And it gets kind of repetitive after a while, okay? A house, sometimes in some houses, that actually works. Like if you're doing a Halloween house, yes, I understand. 80% of the time, you have to be scared by Michael Myers. I get it, okay? But, even in like Halloween houses like that, they still find other ways to get a fright out of you, you know what I mean? They have some other gimmicky things they can do. And being an original house, I don't see how it would have been too far of a stretch to put some other things in there to scare you. It wasn't really, Depths of Fear wasn't really tethered to anything as far as I'm concerned. And so that's one of the big reasons why it's only at number 9. Also, it was kind of a short house. You know what I mean? A lot of the houses were longer and were more a lengthier experience. But this one was like a really short one. But other than that, really good house, and it comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Now, it pains me to put this so low on the list because I wanted to love this house, okay? I had seen the movie before going in to do the house, and I was so excited. I was like, dude, imagine the facade. It's going to be one of the tents in the back, and it's going to have, like, they're going to make it look like the tent from the movie, and that'd be just so perfect. You then realize that they decided to use the Shrek 40 theater to host Killer Klowns from Outer Space, and you have a facepalmer moment because you're just like, why? Why did you do this to us? Don't get me wrong, it's a really fun house, okay? I have to say it. Okay, the clowns were pretty scary, man. This, out of all the houses, this one I think I jumped the most, okay? Maybe other than another house I'm going to mention later, but this and that other house that we'll mention later, every turn, I just kept on jumping, man. I was squirrely the whole time. It definitely had some stuff going for it, and it was cool to see, Killer Klowns from Outer Space in some regard to be brought back to life. However, that's a double-edged sword, because while it does, have a Killer Klowns from Outer Space theme, the problem lies in the fact that it does not go to do a good job at referencing the movie. Okay, and then the second big thing, the reason why it can't be higher on the list, is that it has the same problem that Depths of Fear had. it had the same clowns scaring you over and over and over again, and they all basically look the same. All right, you gotta think of some more gimmicky ways to scare your crowd. You know what I mean? And I understand that this one was actually tied to a film, but the fact of the matter is they did not do a good job, referencing the film anyway. So why in the world wouldn't you take some more creative liberties then to have some different things scare you? But this one ranks above Depths of Fear because of Clownzilla. Clownzilla was absolutely amazing. You had that just was bombastic. At the end of the house to see that, holy shit, man, that was amazing. Okay, that was scary. That was a great practical effect. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. All right, and for that, Killer Clowns from Outer Space comes in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is another house that I hate to put so low on the list, but it's Ghostbusters. Now, I loved Ghostbusters since I was a little kid, okay? I used to go trick-or-treating as a Ghostbuster all by myself. I mean, I loved the Ghostbusters as a kid. I even still have the costume in my house. But, the Ghostbusters house itself from Halloween Horror Nights 29 was disappointing. But that shouldn't. Let's talk about the good first, okay? It was a really good house, all right. In the end, I would write it a million times over, okay. But what does it do good? Let's start with that, okay. Okay, I love the slime monsters. The way they made them look was amazing. I loved how, like, at certain points you would look left and, like, there would be, like, a big rectangular opening and it would be like a room inside there, and it kind of felt like you were watching it like as like a real life TV screen. Like they were giving that illusion, and it did. And this house did a great job at referencing the movie. I think the actors playing the Ghostbusters themselves nailed the personalities really well. I thought there was some great colors, some great set pieces. The way they were able to sell the illusion of things, like the where they have like the Capitol building steps, like a big thing of steps like that. Well, they were able to like shrink that down, but give you like the optical illusion that like it was actually a bunch of steps like that. I thought the costumes were amazing. I thought there was some I love that part where they're like that nerdy guy from the movie goes and he pokes his head out at you and he talks to you. I loved it. Okay, but this house cannot get any higher than 7 because of more like two big fatal flaws. One, the State Puff Marshmallow Man. Okay, I don't know why you could do that in the Shrek 4D theater. You could have that big animatronic Clownzilla, but for some reason you can't do the same with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I mean, holy crap, you missed a golden opportunity, man. Imagine that. A Clownzilla thing at the end of Ghostbusters, but instead it has the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man twirling his big hands and looking down on you. That would have been amazing, okay? That would have been great. But the problem is, instead what they give you is just a projection and just his head. And that was very disappointing. It was really a big problem because I wrote Killer Clowns from Outer Space before I wrote Ghostbusters, and I was expecting something just as good from Ghostbusters, and it just didn't happen. The second problem with Ghostbusters is that it's not really that scary. I know that's inherent in a more softcore scary movie like Ghostbusters, but it just wasn't that scary. Okay, I didn't really get any really good jump scares from the house, not enough to suffice to put it in top 5. But all in all, it's a great house, and I loved it. And it comes in at number 7. Coming in at number 6, we have Us. And I know you're probably tip-tapping in the comments already. Us shouldn't be this high on the list. I had so many people come up to me and tell me Us was a bad house, okay? And I feel like the reason why people didn't like the house Us is because a lot of them didn't understand the movie. Now, if you haven't seen Us, spoiler warning, but it has been out for a while now, but the movie Us, is like a big allegory for the American dream and how the American dream is a glorified lie. Okay, it comments on stuff like that, and there's like a lot of references and allegories in the movie. The movie is kind of just like the plot is just a big vessel for a bunch of allegories. Maybe not so much as a movie like Mother for per se, but if you've seen the movie, you definitely understand. If you just go into it taking the surface level stuff, you're not going to understand anything. You're going to think it's a pretty bad film. Because if you strip away the allegories and we just take away what it means in our world, the movie's not that great, okay? The plot is incoherent and sometimes it's just very unmenacing and not really satisfying. But, if you do a little bit of research and kind of watch some videos and do some studying, you can see how in depth the film is when it comes to allegories and messages in it. And that's what Us is really about. So when I saw the nods to the movies, like I saw the guy holding the sign that said Jeremiah 11:11. You saw the creepy girl in the mirror maze. You saw, all sorts of stuff like that. It was just, I loved Us as a movie, and that just brought me back to that. And I loved how they did such a great job at transferring the movie into a Halloween Horror Night house and paying great tribute. Okay, might I mention that this house was extremely creepy, man. Extremely creepy. Us already has that like cult feel to it, with all the tethered wearing the red and all looking the same and having that creepy look and all holding hands. It had such a great cult feel, and I love that walk-in, man. You have this long walkway where it's pitch black dark, and you just hear the I Got Five on it in the background, just dropping the bass hard. And it's just so amazing, man. It's so creepy and so amazing. I loved it both times. It's just like you feel like you're walking towards like a death sentence. It's just amazing. It chills your bones, man. Chills your bones. The house, I really liked it. I loved the part where you're in the white people's house and they have the MWA in the background. A great nod to the movie. It was just, and then that final room. Okay, let me say that the first time I went through this house, I unfortunately saw what was happening in the last room. I knew it was coming, but they scared me the first time. Even though I knew it was coming, I still got really scared. Then I went in a second time. So you'd think I'd know by now, and I would not get scared at all. Unless it's just me being a giant wimp, which I don't think I am, because I went, but, I was scared the second time too. I was like, whoa, it was such a great, a great acting, a great ending room that really gets you, man. It's good if you see it coming. It's good, but it's amazing if you don't see it coming. It's just it shits your pants, man. And that's what I loved about this house. Us was a great house, but sadly could not notch 1 through 5 because the next 5 houses were almost flawless. Coming in at number 5 and number 4, we actually have a tie for 4th. We have Graveyard Games and Yeti Terror of the Yukon. Now, me and my friend could not decide between these two. These two houses were polar opposites on what they were going for. Okay? Let me start off with the Yeti Terror and the Yukon. You'll see what I mean here. Yeti Terror of the Yukon kind of has a slasher feel, like a Michael Myers feel, where you have this Yeti, you're walking through the Yukon, and you have these Yeti, or Yetis, I'm not sure, but you have this Yeti, following you around, from place to place where he goes stalking you. I love the part where you're walking through and you can see him above you, and he's, walking with you, you're going over an overpass, and he's just, staring you down. It's creepy, man. Get ya. The part where you're in the log cabin, and the guy is hiding in the corner, and you have the guy, his intestines are ripped out, and, he pulls, the Yeti pulls on it, and the guy, screeches in pain. Man, what a great job. Attention to detail. 5 stars to that actor there, who he did such a great job at selling the illusion. You had, kind of like a creepy mirror maze point where you're in a cave, similar to Us, but even more scary. You had these big, terrifying Yetis, hitting you from left to right. It was just such a great, creepy, slasher kind of sort of feel house. And I also liked how it was cold in there, because, even though most of the time you're at Halloween Horror Nights, it's at night, it still can get really humid here down in Florida, so it's really nice to go into a house in the middle of the night and just be able to cool down in it. Right? It's very refreshing, and I just love the Yeti Terror of the Yukon. However, Graveyard Games is just as good, but it does the exact opposite of what Yeti Terror of the Yukon does. Graveyard Games instead of being like a slasher themed house where you like get stalked by this boogeyman, instead it's just one after another. Jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. You think that's enough jump scares? Jump scares. You think you had enough jump scares? Jump scares. You think the house is over? Jump scares. There's jump scares everywhere. It's bombastic. Every corner, something's flying at you. And I was like, I didn't know where the next hit was coming. I mean, if you want to talk about a house that has quantity, okay, and a bit of quality, you talk about Graveyard Games. Every corner, there was something new. There was different things scaring you, and it was just bombastic. It was amazing, and I couldn't decide between which one of these houses to put above the other. I feel like they both, if you're talking about a map that's purely that's purely about jump scares, like that's its main goal. It hits that so well. And if you're talking about a house trying to do a boogeyman sort of feel, like a Halloween house, Yeti Terror of the Yukon nails that as well. So I couldn't really pick, so they're going to tie for number 4. Two great and amazing houses. Coming in at number 3, we have the surprise hit of Halloween Horror Nights 2019, at least for me, Nightingales Blood Pit. Now, oh my goodness, this house, if I wanted to, like, describe to someone who, like what hell was like, I would tell them to go through this house. This house is literally hell. Okay, it's bloody, man. It's the gore factor. There's blood everywhere. It's just this, this endless, walk of torture. You see these guys getting hung upside down. People getting shit kicked out of them. You see these tough, raunchy soldiers really getting into it, man. I mean, it was just, and the facade, man. That horse being slain right there with the columns, so amazing. Great attention to detail. This house was amazing. It came out of nowhere. I thought it was going to be a bad house. My friend had never gone to Halloween Horror Nights before, so I kind of told him when we went into this house, when we went into the park, we could go and do that one first, because I feel like, oh, it's just going to be a dumb Roman Empire house that's not that good. No, it was not a dumb Roman Empire house. It was a bombastic, thrilling ride that exceeded my expectations. Nightingales Blood Pit was amazing. Not to mention, a lot of people complained about how the Nightingales were not as good, because apparently Nightingales has made appearances before in Halloween Horror Nights, and people were saying that something about like their eyes weren't correct or they didn't look as good as they used to. But I didn't care, man. This was my first time seeing a Nightingales house. The Nightingales were creepy, these creepy witch-like monsters. Ugh. It was just amazing. And let me say, the best part of this house, where you're walking, and then all of a sudden, on like a little track, is a mechanical line that comes crashing down at you and scares the shit out of you. I honestly thought I was going to get hit in the head. I fell to the floor, and I felt so alive at that point. That was such an amazing scare. I loved it. It was a fantastic scare. And Nightingale's Blood Pit was just a perfect, sleeper hit that came out of nowhere and deserves the number 3 spot on the list. But was not good enough to crack 1 or 2. 1 or 2 was cracked by main themed houses. Coming in at number 2, and a lot of people put this as number 1, and I could understand why you would put it at number 1. We have Universal Monsters. Now, Universal Monsters, you know how I talked about how Killer Klowns from Outer Space and Depths of Fear had the terrible problem of getting scared by the same thing too many times, right? I talked about that. Well, this house, those two houses should take notes from Universal Monsters. Universal Monsters does the complete opposite. Instead of being scared by the same thing over and over and over again, instead, it's like a sampler tray. You know what I mean? You have, no two rooms are alike. You know what I mean? You go from room to room. There's always something new and different. Every room has something unique to offer. Okay, you have mummies scaring you. You have fish monsters scaring you. You have Frankenstein. You have werewolves scaring you. You have Dracula. You have everything you could possibly want. There's always something new. At every turn, you don't know what's coming next. Okay, it just takes you on a trip down memory lane to these old classic horror villains. And might I say, I was kind of not expecting this house to be that great. I expected it to be top 5. I was like, it's not going to be 1 or 2 because, you know, classic, Universal monsters are not that scary. Frankenstein, who cares about him? Dracula, blah, 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 blah. I wasn't really looking forward to this house. But then I went in this house. And it was amazing. Okay, literally, they did a great job of combining these old-timey, horror classics into a modern sense. A faithful remaster, and it was just amazing. They put so much effort into this house, and it was amazing. Universal Monsters happily gets the number 2 spot, but it came just short of number 1. And coming in at number 1, you're probably wondering what it is. Well, you probably already do know. If you've been keeping track at home, you've, ran the numbers and seen that there's only one house left, and that is Stranger Things. Now, I was one of those haters at the beginning. When I saw Stranger Things come out, I said, it's just a fad. It's not that good of a show. People are overhyping it. They're not giving it the credit that it does. They're giving it too much credit than it deserves. But then I went into this Halloween Horror Night house. And oh my goodness, not even watching the show. I hadn't even watched the show yet. And I went in and I just loved it. The demi-dogs, the demigorgon, the gun sound effects were amazing. Going through the upside down, the way they were able to make the flakes look like, if you ever seen Stranger Things, the flakes, when you're in the upside down, making that towards the end of the house, looks so cool, was just amazing. There was so many cool things about this house. I thought the actors did an amazing job. Other people came on and said that their big problems of this house was that the actors did a terrible job, and that they also said that it doesn't stay true to the show. It's not like a good it doesn't carry over the show that well. I call bullshit. I think it was absolutely amazing. I even when I went back and then I watched the show after going to his house, I loved the show, and then I watched POV shots and I used my memory to look back, and I was like, this was still the best house. Now I like the house even more. Like, uninfluenced by watching the show, just the house alone was so amazing. Okay, when I was walking through the upside down, and one of the laboratory soldiers came out with like an M4 and just started going berserks right in front of my face, and I literally fell to the floor. I was scared, bro. That was a great experience. That house was amazing. Okay, Stranger Things house was so good, it actually got me to watch the show, which is something I always said I would never do, but I'm so glad I went in that house because the show is amazing and the house is just as amazing. And I can't wait for season 4 to come out, which means we're going to be getting another Stranger Things house, and I can't wait to see what they do next. Absolutely amazing house comes in at number 1. So that concludes our list. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I love talking about Halloween Horror Nights. And if you like talking about Halloween Horror Nights, post what your thoughts of this video in the comments below. I love to see what your top 10 was, what you agreed and disagreed with on my, list. Tell me how your experience of Halloween Horror Nights 2019 went. And subscribe to the Film Physician for more videos and awesome content. Alright guys, that's going to be it from me. And remember, just if you're, before, you dislike and you get mad because I didn't, I maybe trashed a house that you liked, or I put it low on the list. Just remember, with the exception of number 10, I liked all of these houses and they were all really good. It was really tough making the list. And also number 2, if, it's just a matter of opinion, man. I'm just telling you my personal feel. Okay, you could say, my video is biased because, I didn't watch every movie or every TV show before going in. There was a couple that I missed, okay, like House of a Thousand Corpses and Stranger Things. But, and you just got to remember that, okay? It's a subjective video, and I hope you enjoyed it, okay? And I hope I didn't offend anyone with how they felt about a house or whatnot. But, yeah. Like I said before, if you liked this video, subscribe to the channel, click like, and I will see you guys later. And tell me what you guys thought of the brand new mic. Alright? This is this Film Physician, signing out.